see Senate Democrats even consider acquiescing to Elon Musk, I think it is.
And yes, we all know that she is attractive with her socialist ass.
It's a huge slap in the face.
And what was interesting, I mean, Schumer, I think, took a pragmatic view, which she articulated by saying that a government shutdown would have been a far worse option than passing the GOP's spending bill. And that once it's shut down,
she do got the crazy lib eyes. Like AOC, she do got the crazy lib look. It's like them eyes just are always up, just looking around, just looking to criticize something, or just looking around for something to be outraged about.
Consider acquiescing to Elon Musk. I think it is a huge slap in the face.
And what was interesting, I mean, Schumer, I think, took a pragmatic view, which she articulated by saying that a government shutdown would have been a far worse option than passing the GOP's spending bill. And that once it's shut down, Trump, Musk, and the others would have free reign to do what the hell they liked until it got reopened.
Wow. So it's kind of like we had him in a two-way Connect Four play. Or if you want to get chess-wise, we pretty much put him in either you lose this or you lose this. Damn. So it's either, look, you pass the bill, we get what we want, or you let the government shut down and we get what we want. Yeah, it was in a two-way Connect Four. It was like, damn, no matter where you go, I win. Tough.
I understood that argument. It was a pragmatic answer, but I also could see the fury from his own party members. How did you feel about it?
Bro, it's like pretty much you ever played Connect Four. When they got you in the two-way, it's like you're deciding how you want to lose. You want to use diagonally or straight across. And that's how pretty much Trump got him. It's like, all right, so you want to lose by the government shutdown? I'm able to run through these documents, or do you just want to give me my bill? We just call it even. Like, how do you want to lose?
I was furious, and I will tell you that, of course, the minute that bill was signed, that continuing resolution was passed, Donald Trump ignored what was in it and decided to sequester money that Congress had already appropriated. So, look, it's not like you're going to ever be able to work with Donald Trump if you're a Democrat. Donald Trump is on a grievance-filled rage to pay back the people that he thinks tried to put him in prison, and therefore he will not work with Chuck Schumer. He will not work with the House Democrats. He will not work with Senate Democrats. He is not somebody who is going to have a kumbaya bipartisan moment. And the minute that Chuck Schumer realizes that there is no working with Donald Trump, there is no working with Senate Republicans and House Republicans who are basically handmaidens to Donald Trump, who've given up their own co-equal branch of government responsibilities to do whatever the president wants. The minute they can start standing up for the other 50% of this country who doesn't agree with Donald Trump. Until he does that, and until he realizes that messaging is part of that equation, I don't think the Democrats are going to be successful. And so I share Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's anger. I share the anger of the Democratic grassroots. And I think that Chuck Schumer is not the right man for the moment that we're living in right now to be the Democratic leader of this party.
Riley, as somebody who was...
Nope, he's not the guy y'all want, but he's the guy y'all need in this moment. In this moment. Well, I guess for us. He's not the guy y'all want, but he's the guy we need.
One of the heroes, really, of driving this whole debate over biological men in women's sport. It did seem to me that was one of the pivotal planks of the common sense culture war, which Trump so successfully won here. And, I've just written a column for the Spectator magazine here, that amid all the hysteria that I'm seeing about Trump, as always, we're 2 months in. And if I was a betting man looking ahead to, say, 6 months down the line, say to the end of the year, I would say there's a very good chance by the end of the year that Trump has got the US economy purring, that he's got peace both in Gaza and in Ukraine. Not perfect peace, because they never are, but peace. And that he's probably got the border into a far more controlled state than it was under the previous administration. And if he's done those four things in his first year, he will go down immediately as one of the most transformative presidents of modern times. So I think the Democrats are in real trouble here. And the reason they're trying to chuck everything at Trump and Elon Musk and the others is because I think a lot of them think this might be what happens.
That's right, Piers. You believe that because Trump is a man of his word. He makes promises and he keeps his promises. Watching AOC's remarks, watching the response that we have seen following Chuck Schumer's vote on the CR, I mean, to your point, to Dave's point, it's like every single day I wake up to a new nonsensical destructive hill that the Democrats are willing to die on, whether it is men and women's sports, whether it is, I mean, Aunt Jemima on a syrup bottle. I think today the hill that Democrats are willing to die on is an auto pin signature from a vegetable president on a preemptive pardon for totally innocent people, and violent criminal non-US citizens are entitled to due process. They have built their entire movement on identity politics, on corruption, on media control, on hypocrisy, but now it's all collapsing under its own weight. We are seeing infighting, we are seeing failed policies, and we are seeing now the general public waking up to this scam. And I can say as someone who, I mean, the past, 16-ish years, 12 of those years leading up to, of course, January 20th, were under Democrat control. So most of my adult life, we have seen Democrats in charge of this country. This is something that this type of infighting, I really haven't seen before. Democrats in total disarray like this. Normally it's happening on the Republican side of the aisle. So
hey, yo, my man, shout out my man Jonah in the scenery says, Penis Morgan brings horse mouth on again. Yes. Yes, it did. Shout out Jonah in the scenery. Ain't the biggest fan of Pierce Morgan, but hey, appreciate the patience though.
See Republicans together and cohesive and advancing in this way and united, really, I think it's something we haven't seen before. And I think it's largely to blame the Democrats. They are their own worst enemy. They are eating each other alive. We've now seen Chuck Schumer.
Bro, it's always been a saying that the left eats themselves. They eat their own. As soon as one of them disagrees, they're ready to kick them out the party. They're a traitor. They're secretly MAGA. They're a cultist, and they're gone. It's like gone. And that's why most of the sensible libs, bro, the leftists hate. And here's the thing, because they're not in complete alignment. They're not in complete alliance with what they want to do. And the problem is that's supposed to be a good thing. There's supposed to be a lot of ideas going on in the Democratic Party. So the fact that y'all are kind of kicking people out for their ideas seems a bit cultish. Huh. Weird, huh?
This morning, he just announced that he had to cancel his book tour after his own party revolted against him. So again, the Democratic Party in a nutshell is unquestioning loyalty and total conformity.
Yep.
Or else. And we saw what happened.
And that's very cult-like. Nobody want to call that one out though, don't they? Like, I mean, it's not just like cults. Like if you don't agree with them, you either get kicked out, ostracized, just for the littlest thing. I mean, you could be a complete good occultist until you disagree with one thing, and then you get ostracized out the whole group. So why is the Democratic Party reflecting, I don't know, cultist behavior? They call us the cultists. I mean, it's a bit weird, but I guess they can say whatever they want, huh?
You stupid.
Yeah, that's how y'all sound, stupid.
With Gavin Newsom, right? I think he started the Democratic Party.
And shout out my man AJ, says Riley Gaines lapping over the Dems. And I ain't gonna lie, I do appreciate the swimming. Hey, the swimming pun. Nice. And shout out to my man Jonah in the scenery. He's a British propagandist. Penis named Morgan. Weak. Penis named Morgan is wild. Like, goddamn. Hey man, shout out, man. Appreciate the support, guys.
Civil war of 2025 after his comments and saying, look, it is unfair to allow men onto women's sports teams.
Well, they're all working out. They're all working out. You were right all along. As I kept telling you were. Whenever you came on, you were. And you were very brave, because actually to be as vocal as you were about that issue 2 years ago was to sign your professional death warrant in many places. You know, the cancel culture was alive and aggressive and nasty. And people like you and J.K. Rowling and others who stood up for women's rights were getting destroyed.
Yep.
So it took a lot of courage, and I've saluted you for that.
Can you imagine that a woman would end up getting eviscerated and canceled because she's trying to protect the opportunity for other women? The whole thing that feminism claims to stand for, they sold out for men who cosplay as women. Think about that. I want you women to remember this, how the feminists are not truly on y'all damn side. They sold y'all out for cosplayers. Remember that.
But
never forget.
It was interesting because one of the great hopes that you might think might come through all this has always been,
because I ain't here. No, actually, I'm a little bit more offended. I ain't not hear one feminist stand up for women during this whole fiasco. Not one. So remember this, women who want to be a feminist. They sold you out for women in cos. They sold you out for men who or playing women in cosplay. Remember that. They don't like you. They don't respect y'all. Or else they never allowed men and women sports if they truly respected y'all. But for some reason, I don't get it. Y'all wasn't the ones to stand on that. Like, I'm talking to the feminists. The ones that hate men, hate the patriarchy, but you gonna let us put a wig on and run through your sports? Like, really, do you hate us that much?
If Michelle Obama ran, she would take Trump down. And Michelle Obama's now got this podcast out with her brother that is spectacularly awful.
Shout out my man Joe in the scenery. He's like, look at horse mouth, eye blind like a hummingbird. Oh man, I ain't gonna lie. Joe in the serious scenery, he ain't having it.
Might be ending any prospect that she could ever run for president. Podcast by podcast. Let's take a look at one of the more enthralling clips.
Every year we'd have the turkey pardoning. And that was the one thing that the girls would do at Barack, was to go stand next to him when he pardoned this turkey. Yes. And it was cute when they were little, but as they got older, you could see on their faces in the shots of them thinking, I would just poke my eyes out. Just right now, just get me out of here. I'm standing with my father telling these stupid jokes, next to a turkey.
Now that's her brother.
Stupid joke.
Going back, you know what, guys? I could take back the Michelle Obama's a man, maybe. I could take it back.
Next to a turkey.
Now that's her brother, Craig. And look, it's perfectly nice, fair if you just want to hear tittle tattle about turkeys.
But this is what irritated me about the whole Michelle Obama. It kind of showed, like I said, who has a real voice in the black community. And it ain't the black straight man, okay? We ain't got no rights or no voice in the black community, to be honest. Actually, we're kind of just finding our voice in there. Really? It's the gay man and the black woman. They can yell out loud to say whatever, and everybody just fall into alignment. That's what's going on. Yes. What the Michelle Obama podcast proved is who have the real voice in our community, and it is the gay dudes and the I mean, and they wonder why we're at, and they wonder why we are at where we are at. Like, I mean, let's not go there.
But it's not doing very well. And I think that is indicative of the problem the Democrats are in, Batty, because you're trying to work out where are they going to go. They're either going to someone like Newsom, who's performing U-turn after U-turn on what he persistently stood up for, which was all the woke stuff, or they've got to find someone, haven't they, out there who can be the new Bill Clinton, maybe. Somebody a lot more to the center, who instinctively understands what the average American probably thinks, and who can genuinely take on Trump and then whoever follows Trump. Because, at the moment, if this carries on the way I think it is, the idea that Democrats can win in 2028 is for the birds, I think.
Here's the problem that the Democrats have. Trump has outflanked them to the left on the economy. So he stole what was the Democrats' platform for 100 years, economic protectionism, creating an economy that rewards hard work of working class people, protecting labor through tariffs and through controlling the border by limiting the supply of labor, which of course raises the wages of Americans. This was the Democrats' economic platform since the New Deal. And Trump simply lifted it from them because the Democrats had stopped catering to labor and started catering to the kind of people Michelle Obama's podcast is for, rich women. And because the Democrats don't have an economic platform anymore for the working class, they had to take on Trump with these.
I always just say, though, it's like they would just say that the Republican Party's for the rich. I beg to differ. I would say it is the Democratic Party. Like, bro, you got more middle class people for the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. And actually, the Democratic Party kind of is the inner city people, the people with the higher income and all that good stuff. So what does that tell you? So, and shout out joining in the series. Like, Mike's got 200 MS in transgender surgeries. Mike got 200 million in transgender surgeries, USAID. I'm freaking crying. Hey, nah, Jonah. Nah, bro. Yo. He's like, nah, bro. That's still a man. I don't care what nobody say. Throwing the suit, like, nah, that's a man, bro. But that's what 200 mil looks like, though. I'm like, whoa. Like, man, 200, he said with 200 mil, anybody could look like a woman. And you know what? I agree. You want to know why? Because if you've ever been to Atlanta, you'd be surprised at what these transgenders could get away with. Scary enough. Very scary.
Cultural battles that make them sound insane, like defending the
y'all freaky dudes like that, but to me, it is scary.
Right of men to show their penises to little girls in locker rooms, what Riley was exposed to horrifically. And so Trump found it so easy then to simply say, well, I'm going to be the moderate on this, on all of these social issues. And so he won both on the economic policy, then on the social policy.
Oh, and to the whole Michelle Obama's a man, allegedly. You know, you got to protect yourself out here. She got a podcast now. You know, you never know.
And then on the foreign policy by stealing the Democrats' anti-war platform. So basically you have a New Deal Democrat in Trump. And so the Democrats are really struggling. Like, what would you say they stand for now? Well, they say we stand against Trump's abuses of the LGBTQ community. He appointed the highest ranking out gay in American history.
Yeah, it's not going to wash.
It's all nonsense, right? And so
people are not going to buy it.
I'll just end with this, Pierce. If I was giving advice to the Democrats, which I would love to do, I don't know why they don't invite me to. I'm a left.
And shout out my man Jordan and C says Austin Powers. That's a man. Oh shit. Hey man, appreciate the support, brother.
Leftist, and I would be very happy to explain their path back to the working class. What they need to do.
You're a MAGA leftist, though, aren't you?
I'm a MAGA leftist. I think this is what they need to do. They need to say Trump is right on the economy. He is creating an economy that is going to reward working class labor, but the Republicans are bad on abortion and they're bad on healthcare. So we will give you immigration control. We will give you the tariffs. We will protect working class labor, but you won't have to worry that abortion is going to become illegal. I mean, that is a winning agenda for the Democrats. Unfortunately, all they care about now is fighting Trump and fighting Musk. They've lost any interest in actually elevating the working class.
See, Batsy, you've got a very interesting voice in this. Well, let me ask.
Yeah, they stopped talking to the normal people and just start talking to their main base, and therefore they will never grow. It's like that's what I'm saying. They just stop actually talking to the people. Like, look, let's just send it out there. Let's not be so biased. Let's not be so hard on Trump. Let's actually talk policy. Let's pretend that Trump is not even the president, and let's just talk with common sense here. They can't do it. They're speaking to the rest of the people with TDS, so that's all they can get. And I ain't gonna lie, people are losing interest in the whole Trump derangement syndrome. It's like even the people who had Trump derangement during the election are kind of coming out of it like, all right, it ain't that bad. And I ain't gonna lie, I as black people, hey, we ain't in change yet, right? Y'all would say we're not in change yet. So like, And you know, for the other races that disagree with Trump, I mean, come on now, bro. I kind of do want to hear y'all argue. I want to hear what they was telling y'all. Because I know what they was telling the white people. They was like, threat to democracy, he's a dictator, next Hitler. And I think they were telling that to all of us. But, hey, what else were they saying?
Ask you, were you surprised by the reaction to your appearance on Bill Maher?
In the room, you get booed by the audience a lot if you defend any of these things. So I wasn't surprised by that. But I got to tell you, Pierce, I have received thousands and
man, Jonas Siri going off tonight. He says, man, fuck. Horsemouth has something to say. Oh, wow. He pretty much saying shut the fuck up. Yeah, damn, every time she talk, though, she can't say nothing without this man just going off. Hey, bro, hey, I appreciate the support, but damn! But shout out, man, appreciate it. Shout out Jonah in the scenery, man. Let's keep it going.
Thousands of messages from people saying to me, that's what I am. You are what I am. And it's truly humbling. I feel really humbled and grateful to God that he put me in this position to give voice to something so many people feel, and they just don't feel heard. I mean, we're lefties. We would love to still be Democrats. You know, there's nothing preventing that except the Democratic leadership, which is totally not interested in catering to labor anymore. So yeah, I was very surprised by that.
And Batsy, you got away quite lightly because I appeared a few years ago on Bill Maher with Jim Jeffries, the comedian, who kept calling Trump Hitler. And eventually I said, he's not Hitler. He hasn't killed 12 million people. At which point Jim Jeffries said, oh, fuck off. He's Australian. And then J.K. Rowling tweeted, as it was then, Piers Morgan being told to fuck off on Bill.
Nah, Horsemouth. He said Horsemouth is not the one in the middle. Horsemouth is this girl over here. This girl right here is who he's talking about. This girl, hey, this is the girl that's from Lefty's Losing It. Yeah, she's one of Rita's co-hosts.
By Jim Jeffries is so deliciously satisfying. And my reason for telling that story is, despite her doing that, I have still relentlessly supported J.K. Rowling on the battle.
I ain't gonna lie, conservative women just look happier. Like, come on now. Like, out of these three women, which one looks miserable? Like, out of these three women, which one looks happy? It's like, come on now. This one that hasn't been able to crack a smile unless she's insulting Trump or something. It's insane. It's insane. But hey,
she's waged for fairness for women. That is how a democratic society ought to work, where you put aside your little petty squabbles with people, and you actually, and that's why I admire what Chuck Schumer did. What Chuck Schumer did was he put the country, in a way, I think, before petty party, political, partisan bullshit. And for that, he knew he'd get hammered, but I admired him for taking that stand. Dave, let's segue to Ukraine, which Julie doesn't think you want to talk about. So let's talk about it, because I know you're probably gagging to talk about it. I want to play a clip of Trump on Air Force One talking about a forthcoming plan to maybe talk to Putin.
What sort of concessions will you be seeking to have Putin make to get a deal done?
Well, I think we'll, be talking about land. It's a lot of land. It's a lot different than it was before the wars, And we'll be talking about land. We'll be talking about power plants, because that's up. It's a big question. But I think we have a lot of it already discussed very much by both sides.
You'll ask him.
Ukraine and Russia.
You'll ask him.
We're already talking about that, dividing up certain assets.
I mean, Dave, it seems to me that there are certain inevitabilities about how this peace deal will look. And there are inevitabilities as a result of where the battlefield has got to, which has pretty much not moved very much now for most of the last year. But it's basically been, I wouldn't say stalemate, because I think Russia has been slightly edging on the battlefield, but in such a small way, it's kind of immaterial. And that basically you're down to, well, they're going to freeze it on the current lines, I'm sure of that, or pretty much the current lines. They'll tell the Ukrainians to get out of the little bit of Russia they're in. Ukraine will be told they can't join NATO, and they'll have to sign up to that. And the issue to me that remains outstanding, unless you quibble with what I've just said, is the issue of whether Putin will allow European peacekeeping troops on the new border of the southeast of Ukraine, which Putin has taken. And I think that's going to be a big debatable issue, because he will view that probably in the same way he viewed what he perceived to be NATO encroachment in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's essentially right. And I think, you've made the point on the show many times before that your brother, who has expertise in this field, has kind of weighed in. And this is from everybody with military expertise. It is basically, there's a consensus that in order to drive Russia out of the territory that they control now, it would take the 82nd Airborne. And there's just simply no political will in America to do this. And despite the talking points and the propaganda that's come out of the West about how vital this war is and how this is a battle between good and evil and democracy versus dictatorship and all of this stuff, nobody really has the political will. Nobody thinks that we're going to risk a confrontation between the two biggest nuclear powers in world history. Nobody thinks that we're going to send American boys to die to determine whether Luhansk is controlled by Kiev or Moscow.
But I would say, Dave, I would pick you up on one thing there. I would say those two things can both be true at once, right? It can be true that Vladimir Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine was a disgusting affront to all the democratic norms that Europeans have held for centuries, that he just helped himself to 20% of land that wasn't his, murdered so many people in the process. But it can also be true that we are where we are, right? And there's no one's going to risk, as you said, there's no American political will. The American people just don't want to wear years more, and they certainly don't want to wear American troops on the ground. So we are where we are. It's disgusting. Right. Exactly. It sticks in my gullet, but we are where we are. But that doesn't mean that what Putin's done was not a disgusting assault on a sovereign democratic country.
Right.
And shout out to John in the series says, see, women are skill based, not nepto baby graffiti art. I believe that's what you're going for.
Yeah, of course. No, it doesn't follow that Putin was justified to invade. I'm just talking about the reality on the ground. And look, George W. Bush was not justified in invading Iraq. He did it on a bunch of lies. But if Vladimir Putin had decided to start funding the insurgency, and then let's say you had Russian politicians, as Dan Crenshaw, who you've had on this show, is tweeting out that, oh, the Ukraine war is great because we get to kill Russians and it doesn't cost any American lives. Imagine Russia or China was funding the insurgency in Iraq that we were fighting for over a decade there, and they were bragging about the amount of American boys that they were killing. No, it doesn't follow from that George W. Bush was justified to invade the country, but you could still look at that and be like, what are you guys doing? You're risking a wider war. You're risking a nuclear conflict. But the bottom line, the facts on the ground here are that we have no means by which to repel Putin, and all we really can do, Julie framed it earlier as kind of like giving this to Putin, but he already has it. All we can do is what Joe Biden did, which is continue to prolong the war, have more and more people die. And I will mention just one final time, because I know I've said this a lot on your show, but according to the head of NATO, Stoltenberg, he said that in late 2021, Vladimir Putin actually sent a draft treaty to NATO, and all he was asking for was a written promise that they won't, that Ukraine will not enter NATO, and on that he would.
And bro, was that too much to ask though? Like for real though, was it too much to ask? Like, look, bro, y'all just back off Ukraine, and Ukraine stays in one tack. Y'all be cool, and I'll chill back. And the fact that they did not accept that deal let you know where their intentions were.
Agree to not invade, and to just sit here and say how much better of a deal that would have been than what we're going to get now.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is
wiser people.
Okay, but I would say I wouldn't believe Vladimir Putin as far as I could chuck him. So you're taking him.
Well, you're going to end up having to believe him now. You're going to end up having to take him at his word now.
That's what I'm saying. I've been saying it to everybody. It's like, look, y'all all want to be like F Putin, but bro, we have to have some type of belief in him. We have no choice. We have no choice but to put faith in this man that he's gonna go with the ceasefire, that maybe we can get him to give back some land, maybe, and go with that. But we gotta now put our faith in Putin that he's gonna follow through with his word, even if you hate the man, even if you don't like him, you don't even think we should be following him. We have no choice if you want to get peace over there in Ukraine. We have no choice. And if you want to go to war with Russia, then you might want to go ahead and join that Ukrainian army, because trust me, they need it.
Not believe him, because I don't believe that this has got anything to do with NATO encroachment. It's got everything to do with him believing.
And shout out, man, Don in the City says democracy like Angel Reese Nepto baby graffiti garbage. Damn. Well, goddamn.
Oh shit! The Soviet Union should never have been dismantled, but actually, a lot of Ukrainians speak Russian, and therefore they're mine. And actually, that's the.
Listen, okay, so I think there is an element of that view with Putin, and I also reject that with you. But I'm an American. I mean, we don't believe in any of that. Like our whole founding of our country is like, I don't care who has a historic claim over us. We're free men, and governments are things that men institute to protect our rights, and we can overthrow it whenever we want to. Like that's the Declaration of Independence in a nutshell. So I'm with you on that. But look, would you, Pierce, if you had a time machine?
My bad. He said giraffe garbage. Damn, Nepto baby, giraffe garbage is wilder. It's wilder. You know what? It sounded nicer the way I said it in the end, Castro. I ain't even gonna lie. It sounded way nicer when I said it. But hey, be like that.
Would you go back and sign that draft treaty right now? Forget whether you trust him or not. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives may have been saved, and Ukraine would have all of their territory. All it would have taken is a promise to not join NATO, which they're not going to get anyway.
If the same
you can't tell me, Pierce, if you could go back, you wouldn't have signed that deal.
Well, if the same situation happened with the UK, I think we would have taken the same action that the Ukrainians took, actually, which is.
But I'm not arguing that. You could fight once you're invaded. I'm not saying that you can't fight back. And I don't think I haven't heard anyone make the argument that Ukrainians didn't have a right to fight off the invasion. The question is whether it was a wise policy for the West.
The irony of your question is that what Putin has done is show the world exactly why Ukraine was so desperate to be part of NATO. Because had they been part of NATO, he would never have attacked. And so it's chicken and the egg.
Or Pierce, perhaps, if we had not for years said we were going to bring them into NATO, while for years every Russian leader screamed from the top of their lungs, this is our red line. We will not let you do this. Perhaps if Trump in his first term hadn't foolishly poured weapons into Ukraine, something Obama, who backed the coup that overthrew the government, wasn't even willing to do. And perhaps if we hadn't been doing joint military exercises between NATO and Ukraine since the fall of that.
I think that's something that even Trump regrets his damn self. He's like, you know what? If I'd have never gave, he even said it, bro. If I'd have never gave you those weapons, bro, this war would have been over. If you didn't get those javelins, bro, them Russian tanks would have rolled right over y'all ass.
War, and there hadn't been a civil war all this time. Maybe, listen, it was Bill Burns, Joe Biden's CIA director, who in his own words in the Niet means Niet memo wrote, this is a choice Russia does not want to have to make. That was a secret memo from him to Condoleezza Rice back in 2008 when he was ambassador to Russia. Julian Assange dumped it. That's the only reason we even know about this. But at least from the highest level of U.S. intelligence perspective at the time.
Nah, see, Julian Assange is the one who released that information that, yeah, they had that meeting. We promised Putin this, and they wanted to hide it from y'all. So we promised this man behind closed doors that we weren't about to do exactly what we're doing in Ukraine, and we expected him to not do nothing about it. Like I said, bro, it's like we smack you. It's like we smack Russia in the face, and we expected him to just sit there and take it. It's like, I don't understand what y'all expect. A superpower.
Putin didn't want to do this because, as America has found out over the last 25 years, wars are actually very costly. And this has caused Putin a lot of problems too. And he's got a whole bunch of like brothers and mothers and people who have lost their relatives who were conscripted soldiers in this, who are mad at him now. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, look, I'm going to move on to the rest of the panel, but I would say just on the red lines point that Putin has set a number of red lines during this war.
It's crazy. In war, both sides suffer. Even the one that's winning. That's what I've learned. Through every war I've ever read about, both sides suffer, even the one that's winning.
With Ukraine, all of which we've ignored. And guess what? He hasn't let his nukes off at anyone, having threatened to every single time. So the guy uses
He's
red
still
lines.
a politician.
He uses red lines as a political.
He said, man, shout out. He said Dave dropping his own drone strikes. How weak is it? Hey, shout out drone.
Comfort blanket. And actually, sometimes you got to call people like him and their bluff, because he's not an Islamic fundamentalist. He's not going to blow himself up for the cause. He's got $200 billion worth of assets, which he thoroughly enjoys.
But he might invade Ukraine.
Well, he might, and he did.
Sometimes you have to call them a bluff, and sometimes maybe you shouldn't.
All right, Julie, we are where we are. I mean, I kind of agree with Dave there, and he's right to quote my brother, because my brother said from day one, you know, you realize that there's no way Ukraine can win this war, right? I mean, you do understand that. And now we are where we are, what is pretty clear to everybody. Ukraine.
It was like, bro, it was like I've been new since day one. Ukraine was not touching Russia. But for some reason, it was baffling to me that y'all liberals actually thought Ukraine had a chance. Y'all was believing all the lies that they were saying, oh, Ukraine is winning, they're taking land. And I'm just like, wait, who's telling y'all this? Because I'm listening to the news around the world, like news from different countries, and they're telling me, hey, yo, it's looking bad for Ukraine. So the fact that I'm hearing different narratives, like, I ain't gonna lie, when it came to the Ukrainian war, I did not touch American media. I did not touch it because they were not telling the actual story. Not even Fox was out there honestly telling me like the actual numbers of what was going on. I had to go to foreign sources to realize that, yeah, Ukraine never had a chance and never will. But the way they was feeding it, the way they was running it, it was almost like people were just ignoring the common sense of the matter is Russia is a superpower. They try to downplay Russia, like, oh, Russia's not what it used to be and all this other good stuff. And I'm like, bro, if that was the case, then trust me, we'd have been disrespected Russia a long time ago. Why wait until now for some reason, though? Like, think about it. Russia was such a soft-ass country to where we could have moved in at any time. Why is Europe so worried about them?
Cannot win the war.
Well, here's where we
can't say they're not a threat, and then you shaking in your boots when they come around. Now that just don't make sense.
If you want to talk about treaties that were on the table, your country, mine, peers, back in the early 90s, signed a treaty with Ukraine, effectively saying to them that if they gave up their nuclear weapons, and at the time of the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Ukraine had the third largest nuclear stockpile after Russia and the United States. We told them that if they gave up their nukes, we would protect their sovereignty and territorial integrity. That was a commitment that the United Kingdom and the United States
Except
made
it wasn't
together
their
to
nukes.
Ukraine.
I mean, you're right.
Me, it was the Soviet
You're
nukes
right.
that were
There were Soviet nuclear weapons on Ukraine soil.
So, okay, so
they forget to tell y'all that part, though.
They're not their nukes. They're also not Russia's nukes, because those were all 15 Soviet republics, and there was a Soviet Union that was dissolved. So there was Kazakhstan. This is something I actually have a graduate degree in, so trust me on this one. There was Kazakhstan, there was Ukraine, and there was Russia, right? There were 3 Soviet republics which housed the Soviet nuclear stockpile. In order to have Kazakhstan and Ukraine give up their nukes, we assured them that we would protect their sovereignty and territorial integrity. So that's not debatable. It is it was their nukes.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. We probably should have told them under the guideline that they don't F with Russia. I think we forgot to mention that part. You know what? It was probably like hidden, like, you know, within the fine print, hidden between the fine print. It's like, yeah. Or maybe I'm be real with you, because we were going to protect them. It makes sense. Yeah, you remove your nukes to protect you. We got y'all. Under the guidelines, you don't mess with another superpower. Under the guidelines, you don't mess with somebody who got nukes. I mean, I'm pretty sure that was like implicated when we made this agreement. Pretty sure.
As much as they were Russia's nukes.
That is true.
All right. So what the lesson that we're showing to the world now, and not just to the good guys, but also to people like Saudi Arabia, who I would not necessarily call a good guy, although we have a love-hate relationship with them, to the Egyptians, certainly to the Iranians, to the Taiwanese, and others, that if you think that the United States is going to protect you with its nuclear umbrella, think again, because we go back on our word. And therefore, as a result, you might as well go nuclear, because the only way that you can protect your sovereignty and territory.
If they go nuclear, Russia will wipe them off the face of the map. They go nuclear, Russia will wipe them out. So don't say that. And bro, we didn't keep our word to Russia. So what makes you think that Russia has any obligation to keep their word to us? Like I said, we can't break agreements and then expect the other side to keep theirs. We broke our agreement with Ukraine. They broke their agreement. It's like, it is what it is. Yes. This whole conflict started on broken agreements.
Territorial integrity is if you have your own nuclear umbrella.
Well, funny enough, you know,
that is the position. That is the position in which we find ourselves now. Now, if you think that that's going to make us any safer, and if Donald Trump thinks that the quote unquote big beautiful ocean can protect us from the ICBMs and the mid-range nuclear weapons that could be delivered in New York City within moments, he's smoking something. And so I want to be very clear that what we have done in Ukraine has made the United States so much more imperiled. And the same with Great Britain, and the same with the European continent. So
well, I don't agree, because
like it or hate it, I don't agree. That's what's happening right now.
Well, I don't agree with you, because we actually have more nuclear weapons combined than Russia does, and that there, right there's the deterrent.
I'm not.
And bro, now everybody, you know, the whole population of Europe, all countries included, about over 700 million people. Russia only got about 140 million. What do you think? Like, no, they're not trying. I don't think Russia wants to smoke. They don't want the smoke with them. Okay, they don't want the smoke with all of Europe that has a higher man count. Okay, and like, I don't know, 18 different armies. Yeah, they're good. He good. But Ukraine, that's an easy win. We're talking about 37 million. There's 141 million. I mean, they can go man for man, and he's still got 100 million plus.
I'm not talking about Russia. I'm talking about all these third-tier countries that are now going to go nuclear.
Well,
right?
I agree.
You're going to make sure that some Saudi.
I agree that's a concern, because I actually, you know, Zelensky told me only 3 weeks ago he wished he had a nuclear weapon, because then he wouldn't have been invaded. I think it's a perfectly valid point. We've got to wrap up, but very quickly, I want to bring in Riley and Bastille on this. So, Riley, just quickly, what is your take on this?
Look, I will just say, on the one hand, of course, I'm glad to have a president with a spine who isn't afraid to